Hey guys, in today's video, I thought I'd show you how I made the Mama I'm Coming Home cover that I released 2 weeks ago. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so here we have the session with all the tracks. And I thought that I'd start with the acoustic guitar, as that's the main part of the song. And I believe the original was recorded with a 12-string acoustic guitar, and I do not have a 12-string guitar. So I kind of trying to simulate that sound with creating different layers, as you can see here. Here's kind of the main guitar here, which sounds like this. And then the second layer is an octave above. So I kind of put the a capo on the 12th fret and then play the same thing. So it sounds like this. And then I have a third layer, which sounds like this. And that's more like to accent the high melody. So together they all sound like this. And as you can see, they're all double tracked. So with every layer, there's a left and a right, just to create that full sound. And here's the EQ that I used on, I believe, all these acoustic tracks. So just a high pass and quite a lot of low cuts from the low mids, 200 hertz, and then a small boost at 3K, and the small cuts at the 800-900 hertz for the boxiness. So just to compare without just the main guitar. With so basically cutting out all the mud and then brightening up a little bit. And then there's a little bit of compression here, just to tame it. And I believe I have the same settings on all these acoustic guitars. So then we have the pre-chorus, which is just basically one layer of acoustic guitars. Sounds like this. And then on the arpeggio part here, I added another layer, an octave above. And then back to the second verse. And then here in the second pre-chorus, there's a few accent chords. They will make more sense when we listen to the whole mix later on. And then the chorus. just kind of arpeggiated chords. And then the B section, or the bridge, we have this part. And the second layer. And then the little lick in between. And all together. And then we have the similar parts again, the accent chords. And then the ending. All right, so that's basically acoustic guitar, all the layers, and all these acoustic guitar tracks goes to this bus here, which have a little bit more compression, an LA 3A style compression. And then a little bit of tape simulation, just to tame some highs, to make it a little bit smoother. And also to, I think this was recorded in 91 or released in 91. So back then they still recorded on tape. So that's also the reason. And then we have the effects, which I'll go through at the end. So here's completely dry. And with some room reverb. Just to put him in a space. And the next up is Dimension D, which is kind of like a chorus thing. Which kind of make them even wider and fuller sounding. Then we have another reverb, a hall. And then a doubler, more is more. And then lastly, a short delay. So yeah, that's the acoustic guitar. It's kind of funny, I've probably heard this song a million times, and I never realized that there's a fretless bass in the first half of the song, or until the drums come in. So you learn something new every day. And I think it makes a big difference to the overall sound. So I decided to use a sampled bass, which is from this sample that comes with Pro Tools. And it sounds like this. It's all the slides and the bends that kind of makes it a big difference. So here's the EQ. Just boost him some 100 Hertz or 90. Cutting out some super lows with the high pass. And then cutting some 700 With electric bass, I usually like to boost this region here, but with this fretless, I decided to cut quite a bit. And then some 1176 compression. And here's the same tape, just for some color and character. And a little bit of room reverb on bass as well as the Dimension D, which kind of widens the bass. And then when the drums comes in, we jump to the electric bass. Where I use my Squier PJ bass. And here I have a Sandsamp. Here's without it. Just a clean DI. So it adds a tiny bit of drive and a bit of low end. And here's the EQ, kind of the same. Cutting, high passing at 30, boosting some 100, and cutting out some high end. And then the same 1176. To put the bass in place. And I'm also sending this to some tiny bit of room reverb. And I think now's a good time to jump onto the drums. And for drums, I use the Tune Track Superior Drummer 3 with the Death and Darkness expansion. This is my favorite kit, which I use on pretty much every song or every cover I do. The name is, in my opinion, a bit misleading because this is super versatile kit, which you can use for all kinds of genres. All right, so the way I mix or route drums is that I have the MIDI track here with I mean you can mix all the drums inside this program as well, but I like to route them out onto their own tracks here with everything else as if they were real drums. So yeah, here's how the drums sound. Here's how they sound dry. So quite a big difference. So let's just bypass all the effects and go through them one by one. Here's the kick from Superior. So a little bit of high pass at 50, cut at 400, and then a boost at 2K. And a little bit of a compression. Here's without it. Oh yeah, so I forgot to mention that all these mics here, I've enabled all the bleed just to except the toms, yeah, sorry. Just to make it sound more real. But then again, I'm getting out the bleed here with the channel strip gate here. All right, so then I've added a sample as well, just to reinforce the kick a bit. Here's how that sounds. Kick 10 from the Slate pack. and together they sound like this. And they go to a kick bus with an EQ. I guess I'm controlling the low end just a little bit more. Let's get back to the effects a little bit later. Then we have the snare. With some pretty heavy EQ, boosting 9 dB at 8K, 3 dB at 4 or 5K, and then a little bit of low end as well. And here I'm also gating and adding a bit of compression. Here's without it. With. And then we have the snare bottom mic. Pretty much the same EQ and compression settings. And here I'm also using a snare sample from the Slate pack, snare 12, and a little bit of room. That's a room mic. Just to add some smack and some sustain to the original. So together they sound like this. Without the sample. And then I like to have a snare room sample separated, just so that I can easily adjust the volume. And that's a combination of these two samples and a tiny boost at 2K. So here's the snare. And then we have the toms. Just cutting some mids, boosting a bit of lows and high mids. And a bit of compression. I think these all have the same settings. And hi-hat, overheads. Just cutting some mud at 400 and 260, and then cutting some harsh frequencies at 4.2 and a tiny bit of compression. Here's without, with. So basically just cleaning them up. And with the room mics, which is a technique they used back in the day at least, is triggering the room mics from the snare. So here I have a side chain from the snare mic, and then the gate on the room mics. So every time the snare hits, the room mics opens up. And then I'm compressing them quite a bit. So without the gate, they would sound like this. And with the gate, and all these tracks goes to this drum bus, which has the same tape plugin. And then I'm sending every track to a parallel bus, which is my parallel compression bus, which has this Neve style compressor. And then I'm boosting a little bit of highs and lows as well in parallel. So without it, with. So obviously the volume raises a bit, but it kind of makes the drums cut through a little bit more while maintaining the original dynamics, hence why it's in parallel. And this way you can easily adjust how much compression you want. If you really want to slam them. You can easily just raise the fader. But for this song, I went quite subtle. And then we have the effects. So first we have a AMS, which is kind of like a room reverb with the ambience setting, which we'll have a look at later. Just to give them some space again. And then because it's a rock ballad, I added some hall reverb as well on even the kick and then the snare and on the toms. Just to add some length. And then I believe at the end of the mix I added even more reverb to the whole kit here. All right, so that's the drums. And then here in the second verse, there's this tambourine track. And also these epic toms from this contact library. I don't even remember what this is called. Sorry. But they sound like this. So very cinematic. All right, so next up we have the this synth patch. It's this emulator from Arturia, from a preset called Voices. It's kind of like a choir patch. Sounds like this. It's in this part. And also in the chorus. And then in the last or the third pre-chorus. And here's the EQ, cutting some lows, high passing at 115, and adding quite a bit of high end. Without, with, and again the tape, plug-in, and a little bit of hall reverb, and then the Dimension D. All right, so next up we have the electric guitar, and for them I kind of used the Zach Wild settings, which is basically Boss SD1 into a Marshall JCM 800. Let me just pull up the preset that I made with my with the Fractal FM3. So first we have the SD1 with the Zach settings, everything at 1 o'clock, the drive, the tone, and then the level, and that goes into JCM 800 with these settings, and then the cab, which is Marshall 60s cabinet 4x12, And I have two mics up. First is a dynamic, I believe it's a SM57, just at the left side of the cone, and then a ribbon mic, which I believe is the Royer 121, just beside it. Let me just bypass all the effects. Actually, let's go through these first. And again, these are double tracked. So that's how they sound dry. And here we have some EQ, adding some lows, 100 Hertz, and some highs at 8K, high passing at 80 Hertz, and without, sorry. With. And then some room reverb. These days, I don't use that much room reverb on guitars, but back in the day, it was quite normal to add quite a bit of ambience to the guitars. And here we have these guitars, which come in the second verse. And then the harmony. And they have a few more effects. So just the same room reverb and the hall reverb. And then a couple of delays. I believe I didn't use that one. Yeah. And then we have the solo, which is also double tracked. I believe I read some interview from this No More Tears record, and I believe they double tracked everything from all the leads and rhythms. Usually I don't, but I want to stay true to the original. So here's how that sounds. Dry. And with the reverbs and delays. And all these electric guitars also has their own bus here. And first we have a EQ just to cut some harsh frequencies. And then we have just a global EQ to brighten them up just a tiny bit. And then here's the SAC thing again, which is the symphonic preset from Yamaha SPX90, which SAC used at least on the No Rest for a Weekend and No More Tears albums. On this song, I didn't feel it was that prominent, but it's still there. So here's how that sounds on the main rhythm tracks. Without it. With. Kind of like that No More Tears guitar sound. But on this track, I use just 30%. And then again, the tape plugin. All right, so far we have this. And then lastly, the vocals. And Ozzy, I believe on all the records, at least on the solo albums, he always double tracked his vocals. So I decided to do that as well. So which means I sang the same part twice and then just lowered the double a bit in the mix. So here's how the vocals sound.
Times have changed and times are strange. Here I come, but I ain't the same.
And with the double.
Times have changed and times are strange. Here I come, but I ain't the same.
So it kind of creates that chorusing effect without using chorus. And it makes the vocals sound a little bit fuller. So here's the EQ. High pass at 100. Cutting some 200 and boosting some 2.5K, 4.3K, and some 8K, a high shelf. And then that goes into 1176.
Times have changed and times are strange. Here I come, but I ain't the same.
And then just a de-esser to tame the S's and a limiter to tame the peaks, and the double has the same settings. And then the effects, here we have the AMS, which is kind of like the room or ambience reverb, and then the hall.
Times have changed and times are strange. Here I come, but I ain't the same.
And then a short 8-note delay, and this I believe is a quarter note delay.
Times have changed and times are strange. Here I come, but I ain't the same.
And then on the doubled vocal, I send that to a doubler to make it a little bit wider.
Times have changed and times are strange. Here I come, but I ain't the same.
And together.
Times have changed and times are strange. Here I come, but I ain't the same. Mama, I'm coming home. Times go by, seems to be.
And these two goes to a bus, which just has a trim plugin and the tape plugin. And then we have the background vocals in the choruses, which sound like this. And these are quite heavily EQ'd. So here's how they sound dry. So every time you have this many layers or even more, the low end build-up is going to be quite drastic. So it requires quite a bit of EQ to make them bright and cut through. So with the EQ, so high pass at 100, low cut at 200, and then quite a bit of high end. So every harmony here as well is double tracked. Here's the first one. And the second one. So that's the same, but I decided to pitch it up 1 octave with this altar boy from Sound Toys, which is going to sound quite ridiculous, but in the mix, no one noticed. Then the third one. And the fourth one. And here I'm taming the low end and the mids even more. So yeah, this all goes to this bus here. So this is global EQ here. Without. And then the 1176. And the limiter, just the same, the peaks. And then the tape plugin again. And then the effects, the room reverb, and the hall. Quite a bit more on these backing tracks, or backing vocals. Then the short delay, the longer delay, and a doubler. So that's all the tracks, I believe. Yeah. And all these tracks and buses goes to this master bus. On the master bus, I have an SSL bus compressor at 4:1, attack at 10, and auto release. I'm coming home. So 2, 3 to 4 dB of gain reduction, just to glue it all together. Then I have a Pultec EQ, boosting some 60 and some 10K. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. And then I have this black box, which has some saturation. It's also quite subtle. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. But I feel like it's gluing the mix even more in a kind of different way than a compressor would. And this is just to it's a D-harsh preset, so it just makes the whole mix a little bit smoother, also really subtle. Mama, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. And then on a mix, I also have this tape plugin, and then lastly the Ozone 9 for some mastering. So here's the master EQ, again, just sound boost at 75 and 10K, and a small cut at 570. I believe I'm just compressing the low end just a little bit to tame the kick. It's a dynamic EQ. And lastly the limiter. And that's it. This is just for my my monitoring. So there you go. That's how I made my cover of Mama I'm Coming Home. As you can probably tell, my mixing workflow or style is pretty old school. In a rock mix like this, I usually just stick to a channel strip EQ on pretty much every track, and just a couple of compressors, and then a few effects for the whole mix, and that should basically get you 90% there. And speaking of effects, I forgot to go through them. Let's do that. So here's the Dimension D, which is the kind of like the chorusy thing. It's from Overloud. And then here's the doubler, which is the micro shift from Sound Toys. And here's the AMS, or the RMX60, which was famous for the gated reverb sound, which I usually use with this plugin, but for this song I wanted more sustain, so I used the ambience preset. And here's another reverb from Relab, 0.9 second reverb. And here's the whole reverb, which I believe they used on this record as well. Originally it's the Lexicon 480, and this is the Relab version, which I hear is really close to the original, and it sounds great. Then here we have the short delay, which is the 8th note. Here's the long delay, same setting, just a quarter note. And here's a dual delay, which I believe used for the solo. So yeah, that's my version of Mama I'm Coming Home. Make sure to check out the cover that I released 2 weeks ago. And I hope you enjoyed this production breakdown. And let me know in the comments down below if you want more of these kind of videos. It's fun to go through the tracks one by one. All right. See you soon. Head up.